Welcome, everybody, to WTCtv and our first collector series for 2025. Um, Tony and I, we came up with this format at the end of 2023. It was kind of like an offshoot from our trading card series that we did of people in the hobby. We ran those end of 2023 and into the first quarter of last year, and they were quite well received within the hobby. And the whole idea that Tony and I came up with for this format was to sort of feature all the movers and shakers in the wrestling card world. You know, the guys that make significant contributions on many different levels. A lot of the top collectors, guys that have influence, people that provide content, sellers, and our guest today, who's become in short order the top wrestling card breaker in the hobby, Mr. Breaker Mayfield. We're going to be doing a few of these, and we're going to talk a little bit about the breaking world. But Breaker has some very exciting stuff to talk about during the show that he's working on. So we're gonna get into that as well. So welcome, Tony. Welcome, Breaker.
Thank you. And I'm not
What's
the
up, man?
top, but I
Sorry.
am one of the first full-time breakers. But there's definitely a few people that outshine me. But I'll take top two or three.
Well, Tony and I, we've talked about this recently a lot, how the game has changed. Like we've seen all the ups and downs and the progressions in the wrestling card hobby. And the secondary market used to be dominated by eBay, and obviously it still is. That's where you'd go after the big guys, the David Adams and Pittsburgh guys, and the big guys get their stuff. But breaking was always around in the general hobby. And then, like you say, there was some early guys that would do YouTube breaks for wrestling. But you got at it in a very big way. And I remember when we did our year-end top prices, you were involved in one of the top sales of last year, and you told me when we were done how you sort of not fell into it, but your sort of life circumstances forced you to have to figure out a way. I'll let you tell the story. So everyone, Breaker Mayfield, let us know how you got into this, and then we'll talk about what's going on.
Well, first, I'm so fortunate that the community accepted me because prior to 3 years ago, the only wrestling I had watched was Nintendo 64, NWO. I was the Big Show all the time because he destroyed everybody in the game. I didn't know any names whatsoever. I collected sport. I never watched wrestling. I didn't do any of it. And man, I missed out. That's for sure. But I was always into sports and card collecting from a very young age. My dad and I went to spring training every year from 1996 until COVID to watch baseball. I've always been a big sports fan, and I collected sports cards. And I had a job where I was traveling a lot in the healthcare industry. And then I had a family tragedy, which forced me to uh, figure out a way to become a full-time caretaker, raise two little kids, and find a way to financially support a family. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But so I started selling off my collection, and I started trying to break under the name Breaker Mayfield as a joke, for basketball, football, baseball. And I fell on my face so hard. Lost a lot of money, and it was really, really tough. I noticed on Whatnot, I feel like if there was one strength of my personality, it's being resourceful, especially in stressful times. And so I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I noticed that nobody was streaming wrestling on Whatnot. So I said, let's give it a go. I found somebody with some singles, and I just started streaming singles on Whatnot. And it weirdly blew up. I had more people in my stream in the first day than I had ever had trying to do other sports. About a month later, I found out the only reason why anyone was in the stream was because they thought I was either joking or very dumb, because all I was doing was mispronouncing every wrestler's name ever on stream, and it ended up becoming like almost something where they would log in to make fun of because I was just like, um, Siampa and Asuka and Shinsuke and and all of that was hilarious to everyone else.
Hey,
And
whatever attention gets for you, right?
yeah, and so one, I would say I was in had a really tough. A couple things in the community is nobody was breaking, so I became one of the first maybe full-time wrestling breakers where I just started doing that nonstop. And this was right at the height of COVID, and it did really well. It did so well that Whatnot it asked me to do a call with all of their high level executives because nobody had done the type of volume in wrestling that I was currently doing. I figured out that later. Now, right after that interview I did, there was five or six, seven, eight, nine other breakers that joined in right after. So they definitely used that information to say, hey, we need to get more wrestling breakers on the app. And so now I've been trying to pivot and find the best possible ways to make money. I would say a couple of things to the community. One, like being able to stream during a really tough time and be accepted by that community. One of the coolest communities I've ever been a part of. And to be an outsider and then accepted and brought in I'm like eternally grateful. I could almost say the wrestling community saved my life because it was a really tough time, but then I had a community of people that accepted me. I had an opportunity to talk to others and learn, and people helped me learn how to pronounce names. Taught me how to find cards and what to look for, and I've gotten a chance to get to know so many wonderful people to the point now where I went from never knowing anything about wrestling, never going to a match, to being ringside at Raw, ringside at SmackDown. You know, honored to be part of your card collection, and things like that. And it's been absolutely wonderful.
Well, congratulations. Obviously a lot of hard work. I mean, the times have changed, but you sort of grabbed the bull by the horns. You saw the opportunity, and you made the best of an opportunity. And as we were talking before, you are the preeminent wrestling breaker in the hobby. And congratulations on that. Before we talk about your promotions, and you're just talking about the pay-per-views, and you got something really cool cooking for WrestleMania. Talk about some of the sort of ups and downs of what you've experienced over the last couple of years, doing what you've been doing, specifically on the Whatnot channel and on YouTube itself.
So to get in the weeds, basically up until Panini lost their license, my success, financial success, came directly from the 8 to 10 release weeks every product release. So out of the 52 weeks a year, I would make 90% of my yearly net profit off of the 8 to 10 weeks a year where a product's released. I had access to the product for Panini, and that first week it would be incredible. And then what has to happen though is then you have to spend the next 30 days or longer running product, at least in my circumstance, at break even numbers or losses. So you have to really count on those release weeks. And so as Panini, I would say the ups and the downs were being one of the only full-time breakers running case breaks and 5K. I was one of the first people to offer 5 case breaks where we were doing $10,000 breaks in a day, and then Panini all of a sudden dropping 4 releases in like a 30-day period, that prevented you from being able to capitalize on those profits, which therefore didn't allow you to be able to run those breaks at the prices that everyone wants them at, because I'm a one-man show. I want to offer people low prices. When I'm pricing my breaks and it's not a release week, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to capitalize on the opportunity to make me and my family money on a release week. But after that, I'm just trying to make like $200 a case for my time, $200, $300 a case for my time because it gets me to that next release. So the ups and the downs in that sense can be really, really tough. And then now with having that massive shift in product releases with Panini to now Tops, where it's very hard to get bulk product, I'm having to adjust and pivot how I try to continue to do this full time because doing this full time as my full time job, it allows me to coach my kids sports. It allows me to volunteer at my kids' school and be there when they're sick, spend time with them. And that couldn't, there's nothing more important, to me than time at this point, and so now I'm trying to figure out ways to pivot into a profitable position when it's not a very profitable industry.
Yeah, Fanatics has certainly definitely changed the way the game is played for everybody across the board because breakers, even distributors now are and collectors are all equal in how they access products.
I mean, you know,
It's a lottery
yes.
system right now. I mean, because I jumped in for, the product date drops and, I wanted to get X amount and you wait to see if you got a confirmation email that you got product. And even if you did get that product, they could still allocate less than what you requested. So it's like the lottery system, like getting into Comic-Con San Diego. Yeah, I want to go. I want to buy a ticket, but I have to join up and see if I can get picked and selected to even buy a ticket.
Yeah, and it's I would say the best way for it to be fair across the board would be how Panini handled their first off the line releases. Is nobody had access to Fanatics, didn't get extra. It didn't matter how big your account was or how much money you had or how much money you spent. Everyone had an opportunity in a Dutch auction to get the product at the same time with the same rules. And to me, that was a great way for someone in my position to get product and be able to be profitable. Because with tops I can't find any. I'm paying $4,000 a case for Sapphire. I'd be lucky if I can close a break, spend 5 hours and then 5 hours sorting and make 100 or 200 bucks. So it's really really tough right now to find the product.
Been difficult even because at my store, people always want the Topps Chrome stuff, and it's just so hard to come by. When I signed up and I got the product drop, I was only allocated two boxes out of everything I wanted. I got two boxes, and I burnt through that within like 2 days because I don't sell singles yet, and I don't sell wax. I pack things out, and it's more
Okay.
bang for my buck. And so then I went from having hobby boxes into the mega boxes, and the mega boxes become hard to find and now I'm down to blaster boxes, and that's also becoming hard to find. So it's a weird world we live in the card world with Fanatics and how they distribute cards to everybody across the board. And if you don't adapt, I think it becomes hard. And I was wondering about how that affects guys like breakers like yourself, with that new format. So you've already answered the question, but I was wondering.
Yeah, it basically knocked me out. So of being a massive breaker. So I mean, I there was a time I was breaking 20 cases a week of product, and I've broken maybe 3 or 4 cases in the last 2 weeks, and so that's why I've pivoted into repacks or reboxes, and I partnered up with a company that does them and has a solid reputation to try to pivot the industry so I can still offer good prices. I can still offer high value cards and in a fun way, for people. And we're going to hopefully see how that goes. I'm on round 2 of them now.
This new distribution model that you guys are talking about, it's very interesting to me. When you go up the chain, like we've noticed some of the big time breakers getting into wrestling, would they have the same issues with getting their hands on product that guys at your level with? I mean, you're the top wrestling breaker it is, but when
Well,
we're talking
I
about
know you. Well, you keep
the
saying
big
that,
guys,
and
all of a
it's.
sudden are doing it. It's like, and they seem to have a little bit of a preferred position, it seems, at least with Panini it seemed that way. I'm just wondering, Tony, you mentioned Fanatics. Is the model, is it fairer or is it, is someone pulling the levers differently somehow so that allocations and distributions at different levels of the process are altered? And
I
maybe it's
think it
something you guys
all.
can't answer. It's just interesting to me that this has been a pretty fundamental shift, right?
I think accounts that are doing, the reason why I can't get on Fanatics is because I only do wrestling.
Right.
I'm proud to be able to say that I've sold. I think in 2024 I did about $2 million in wrestling sales on Whatnot, which that's a huge number for wrestling, sales, and yet someone like Fanatics would to be able to be partnered up with them, they want to see someone doing $10 million a month, and having 10 different streamers. So I think it really boils down to like how much money you have, and how much capital and liquid you have, and also how much you spend. And that's, you have to spend money to make money. And, it's a lot easier for, if I had $1 million, if I could go back 12 months and had $1 million, I would have just purchased and know what I know today. All I would have done was purchase wrestling wax and never touch it. And the amount of cases and product that I broke at break even numbers because I can't hold on to that kind of cash in my office. I have to turn it. That I would have turned that $1 million into $2 million had I been able to hold it for a year. But not everyone has the ability to do that. So I think it really determines how much money you have, and I think that's kind of the same with anything in life. So
Right.
it's not necessarily a complaint. It's just more or less a reality. And so, I'm a solo operation. I do all my packing, shipping, sorting, streaming, buying, everything. And so it makes it a little difficult. That's for sure.
Well, let's try and help you make some money. Let's talk about all these cool things. Tony, you mentioned repacking earlier. Let's talk about what you've got cooking now, breaker for the WrestleMania season.
Yeah, so I will share my screen if it allows me to. 1 second.
Definitely a much more interesting world we live in now when it comes to product for sure.
Yes, it's so I teamed up with Rare Edition, who has been around the industry a while. They do their own slabs, they do all sports repacks, they'll do rock hard reviews, so it's a review for potential grading. And then if wait, where'd this go? Here. If
Like we should have like a screen
it's
going
all right.
across
We can we can throw
technical
it up later,
difficulties.
but in rareedition.com, and basically we've
Yeah,
got
we'll overlay the graphic as you're speaking.
yeah,
But we
I
just wanted to
basically put
mention
together a four. I put together a 400 card set, and I would say within the research that I've done, one of the biggest complaints that people have with repacks is they don't really know what's in them. People say this is a floor and this is a ceiling, but how many ceilings? How many floors? What's the average? And you can almost say whatever you want. And so we put together a repack where we actually uploaded the entire checklist on rareedition.com to show every single potential card that's going to be in those packs. So I think with that full transparency and the excitement of, and here's one right here because we just went through of an actual box that's shrink wrapped, that is curated and put together by a different company. I didn't touch these prior. It gives that kind of satisfaction of you are opening up a box. I've ran breaks. I would say the most painful thing as a breaker is running like a case of immaculate or flawless or impeccable and doing a pick your wrestler and having $3,000 or $4,000 spent, and 7 of the 80 people that purchased into it get cards. And then 65 are skunking and they get nothing. They get some base cards or whatever I have available to try to say sorry, you spent all this money, didn't get anything. And so being able to have that excitement of opening something and unwrapping something with this chances of getting something that like is a case hit or $1,000 card or a one of one, I think that is a lot better way to spend your money. If you're going to spend $100, and worst case scenario, you're getting a PSA 10 Bray Wyatt Prism Blue out of 199 back. That feels a lot better than spending $300 on a Hulk spot or something like that and getting nothing. So we launched it today. We had our first stream earlier today, and we sold 73 boxes of the 400. And with that, we offered up some rare edition slabs, which you can kind of see here. This is a
Yeah,
gold
nice.
solo rookie. Um, Here's a true gold Rhea. These were all ones that were hit today. Here's a Tiffany Stratton, Mojo out of 8. ringside, and there's a ton more. And with these slabs comes with an entry to a giveaway for 2 tickets, airfare, hotel, and $5 spending cash to WrestleMania 41.
What? What?
Um, so somebody out of the 400, it's 396 boxes. Somebody that buys a box is I'm going to be meeting at WrestleMania, getting them tickets, paying for their flight, paying for their hotel, giving them some cash to have and to party at WrestleMania. And obviously, there's the caveats with if somebody can't make it or if somebody's already going. I even told somebody's like, I'm already going to WrestleMania. I was like, well, I'll spend $4,000 to upgrade your tickets. I mean, it's
Nice
I'll make
price.
it so that it's easy. This is supposed to be fun. This isn't meant, if it doesn't work out, then okay, I'll buy you tickets to WrestleMania in New Orleans in 42. It doesn't have to be for this WrestleMania, but the idea is to go and have fun because I'm going to WrestleMania and I want to have fun with all the people that have supported me for the last 3 years.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's so
that's
cool.
And
fantastic.
so, and in these packs, we've got Tiffany Stratton 1 of 1, Bray Wyatt 1 of 1. We've got just today. I wish I had it sitting out, but I just finished the stream. Somebody hit a Hulk Hogan Iron Sheik dual auto 1 of 1, and they spent $150. Spent $150 on a box. Got a dual Transcendent John Cena. There's a Roman Reigns Transcendent in there. There's so many big cards which you can see on rare edition, and my hope is that this becomes more appealing than breaking, and breaking is still going to happen, but I'm hoping people start preferring to spend $150 or $200 or $100 on something that they know they're going to get something to take home, as opposed to this chance of skunking, but or not getting a hit.
Well, maybe
you
we're
know
on the cusp of something brand new for the industry. We're going to pivot again
You're going to see a
this
lot. Fanatics is
with
going to
this model.
launch. Fanatics is going to launch repacks. I guarantee it.
Hmm.
You know what? In the wrestling card hobby, this is, it's not the same scale at all. But and totally remember Grimm back in the day, his grab bags, and it was the same
Yep.
idea where he'd take a
Yep.
bit of everything so that when you spent your $30, which was a lot back then to get one of his things, I think Tony, you've done stuff like that before,
Yep.
where people dig that because they're not left, on some of these breaks, sometimes you end up with nothing, right? And
Yep.
it's not the same
what
experience.
you're going to start seeing is digital. What you're going to start seeing is digital repacks, and it's going to be where you're not even live anymore, and you're just going on your phone like you're getting a scratch off or you're pulling a slot machine lever, and somebody's going to have all of these cards uploaded and it's going to have different percentages, and you're going to make your purchase at 1 in the morning or at 5 in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. You can do it 24/7 if you want, and your cards are going to then get shipped to you, and it's all going to be a vending machine. Eventually, that's my prediction.
Well, it seems to me
I,
that
I,
that
I
that,
see
that
that.
someone might be you.
Well, I
I
mean, I'm
see.
more. Yeah, I mean, I like to be. I like to to chat, and I like to be live. That is enjoyable to me. It's fun to log off after 5 or 6 hours and realize that there was a few people that spent 5 hours with me on a Sunday. Like it makes me feel like, oh my gosh, like you know, did they enjoy their day? Like, did I help them have a good day today? When I went to the card show last weekend, and I met a couple people that were looking for wrestling. As soon as I told them I was Breaker Mayfield, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're Breaker Mayfield! I love watching your streams." And so I really don't want that to go away. But if it does, you just kind of have to adjust. Like, I mean, when I was 20 years old, people called me all the time, asked me how to use their phone, and now I'm calling my kids saying, "Hey, how does this Chat GPT work? What am I doing? I don't know. Like, I feel old, and I'm only 38."
Yeah, but you've done well, and it's very interesting. Like I say, it's very cool to see the changes within the hobby at the macro level, but how it's affecting us down in our sort of little corner. And wrestling is huge now, obviously. We're on a crest of a wave. Today I saw Triple H online opening up Topps Chrome. I'm like, wow. But I mentioned, Tony, I was telling Breaker before we started, a lot of the comments were, where do we find this Chrome? So there's a general sense out there on the street that the product is scarce. Now for us, of course, because we live and breathe this stuff every day, we know where to sniff it out and get first allocations or whatever. But the general vibe of just delay, non-collector necessarily, but oh, those cards that everyone's talking about are cool. Where can I find them? And I can't.
Well, that's the issue though, because having a storefront, people coming in all the time asking me for this product. And what's happening here is that there are those people out there who maybe they're breakers or they're streamers, whatever they're doing out there, they're gobbling it all up from the retail standpoint. So there's nothing for people to go out and find. The guy who's been selling me the mega boxes, I don't ask questions. I don't ask him where he's getting them from. All I know is the guy recently moved in from Virginia. Now he lives here in Phoenix, and the guy had about almost 30 mega boxes. So he's like running around to different stores, picking them all up. And I just keep, well, three, packed them out, all gone. Three more, packed them out, all
Is
gone.
that
Three
what he's
more,
doing
packed them
though,
all
Tony?
gone.
Is he running around to like your Targets and Walmarts and shit, whatever, and just
I've
grabbing them?
got multiple guys that come in here all the time. That I've hit six Walmarts and I've hit seven Targets, and I can't find anything. All I'm finding is this. I find this product or that product. I'm not finding Topps Chrome. So it's out there. It was out there, but people have gobbled them up, and now it's hard to find. It just that's the way it is right now, I guess.
There's a a dealer website where basically you can buy and sell wax, as a business.
Yep.
And so it's pretty easy to find, but the problem is the price. Like
Price.
I just picked up today 2 cases of Sapphire, 1 case of Breaker's Delight, and 1 case of Hobby, and I spent 3 years doing case breaks and 5 case breaks and 2 case breaks, and I'm gonna have to box these ones out and do mixers and do like three, a box of Hobby, a box of Sapphire, a box of Breaker's Delight in one break because running a case break now is just not profitable, and a lot of these companies, and I think that makes it hard for my position because a lot of companies find value in the amount that they're spending. As long as they're getting what they're spending back, it might not be a profit play. Like if I'm going to spend $10 million and then sell everything in 2 weeks for $10 million, then that in itself is profitable because it's going to increase your credit limits. It's going to allow you to use that kind of money for other investment purposes. So I think that when people are running these breaks, I can't imagine that they're making that much on it. But when you're a big corporation, you're able to run that way and it be beneficial to your relationships with tops and the manufacturers and things like that.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely.
Because yeah, these, I mean, I think the all the cases that I just got was like $21,000, and I feel like 2 years ago I could have gotten 20 cases of Select, or 10, 10, and I got like 4 or 5 cases of Topps Chrome, and I'm just like, how? I don't even know how I couldn't. I don't know how. I mean, breaking even is my goal.
Yeah.
Well, staying in business, right? And it's cash flow. It doesn't behoove you to sit on product that isn't turning into dollars so you can keep your lights on. Right.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's going to go up in a year.
Right. Precisely. Precisely.
Like
Well,
Flawless is $6,300 a case right now.
but that product is still moving on the secondary market pretty well. Like you're still getting, your lowest tier on any card there is still 30-40 bucks a card, right? So it's still
Not
Yeah,
necessarily. I'm a Loomis collector, and I was able to score some of that stuff for,
less
twenty
than that.
dollars.
Yeah, we are 20 because
there's
I
some that
didn't
have
buy
gone.
any of
Yeah.
it, but I've kept an eye on it. Like 3 Count and Flawless were the two real bears, obviously. They were the ones that were most were limited during Panini, so I couldn't touch those. And even it seems to me that 3 Count might be just as rare. I don't know how you made out Breaker with the 3 Count product, but it was
Uh,
tough to put together.
I
Well,
opened up.
not
I
to put
mean, you
together.
can you can you can see my Flawless. I mean that,
Yeah,
and that's not those are all opened. I just have the briefcases left, but there's that's $100,000 worth of Flawless right
that's a
behind
lot of
me.
Flawless.
That I ripped, and I probably made nothing on Flawless. Like
Really?
it's more of a like give the people what they want. I think people that are watching the stream sometimes don't realize it that like the amount of work. People message me all the time. They're like, how do I get into breaking? Oh my gosh, you have such a sweet job. Or oh my gosh. And I'm like, it is a lot of work. And
A lot of work.
it took me probably 1 to 2 years of just running singles and trying to, and going on every hour that I wasn't doing, spending time with the kids or being a caretaker just to get to the point where I could run things at a profit. So people are like, I want to get started. And I'm like, okay, well, quit your job and run singles for no profit for a year, and then you'll get there, because after a year people started realizing that, oh, I'm not trying to, if I can make $1,000, I would much rather make $250 and make the people around me happy so they come back than try to like, spend 8 hours closing a break. I'd rather close a break and break even in 2 hours than spend an entire day dragging people on to try to make more. So for me, it's all about bringing the viewers in, and then hopefully when things get released and there's some excitement around a product, then I can make some money that way.
And there's an entertainment aspect to it, and as well as in addition to moving volume as quickly as you possibly can as well. Because I mean, I've restructured my business this year for the store, where in the first 2 years I was just kind of nickel and diming everywhere I possibly could, and now at the point now where I'm just trying to move volume. So I want my engagements with my customers to be a pleasant one, where they want to come back and always have a shot and a chance to come in and just move volume now as like this, everything's the same price point. I'm not taking chase variant action figures or things like that and marking them up because the market's different price here and there. It's just you find on my wall, you find on my wall, just like anything else, man. All marked the same, make it a pleasant experience for the customer to come in and just move the volume. And whatnot seems to be kind of moving that direction where it's just got to be quicker, be entertaining, engaging, but also trying to move the volume as quickly as possible for the best possible price.
Absolutely. And yeah, and I think maybe I found a niche on whatnot because I'm not running around tearing off my shirt and screaming and losing my voice and like dropping F bombs and like, and just like burning down my house or whatever it is. Like I I'm already freaking out with my kids, four kids all day. Like all I want to do is just relax. And I think there has been a good, the response has been more or less positive and like, oh, we like watching Breaker Mayfield because he's not going to sit there and pull a $3 card and be like, "Bang! Look what we just hit. We just changed your life." Da 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 da. It's like I'm there's clips of me pulling 101s and being like, "Oh, I've never heard of this guy," and it's a Cody Rhodes or something like that. It's like I kind of come at it with a little bit more sarcasm and dryness, and I think people like that because most of the other streamers are probably 20 and 30, maybe a little younger and have more energy. I wish I had the energy. It wasn't on purpose that I kind of have the
Yeah.
personality that I have, but I think some people like it.
It appears more genuine to me.
Oh, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I care about the user experience number one.
Well, because
That's
you're going to take something where you make a nickel off of like that, and where you probably could have made 50 cents, and you make a nickel off of it. But the same person who's got that good deal for a nickel is going to come back and probably buy another 100 more worth of nickel profits off of you. So
oh yeah, and I don't see it as I'm gonna I think if I had 100,000 followers, it might change, and I might not care. I might care less, and I feel like that's I think it's a natural transition for businesses. Is like the bigger audience they have, the less they have to care about the user experience or the ability that they have, and you can just oh, I'm going to profit off of anyone that comes in because I'm going to have 500 different people in here tomorrow. Whereas like me, and Paul, you keep, I wouldn't say I'm not the top. I'm not the biggest breaker out there now. Card Shop is a wonderful operation, and they run massive breaks. And there's some great people out there running streams. But I was the first, and I have built, no, not the first streamer, but
But you're
first person to
dedicated, so
really
that's
take
nice.
this full time.
Yeah.
And so I do have those loyal people that have stuck around and would rather watch, me. And I'm really holding on to that. So to me, the user experience and taking care of somebody, if I make a mistake, I've shipped out 70,000 packages. If I've made 200 mistakes out of 70,000 packages, that's 99.998 accurate. But if I make a mistake, I want to go above and beyond to fix it, as if they would have preferred me to make a mistake. That's how I want a person's reaction to being taken care of. And it's I think that's an important transition piece because as wrestling is getting massive.
It is.
yeah,
I was in the sports card world before, and I've never had, and I did at times deal with high end sports card sales and buyers and sellers, and I've never had more people from the sports card world that are spending massive amounts of money on on other sports coming to me that I haven't talked to in 3 years. There's people that I talked to 3 or 4 years ago, but I only do wrestling now. So why would I talk to these people now? They're now talking to me because they're starting to get in wrestling. So I think the high end market of wrestling is about to massively change. I think we're going to see some of the biggest sales that we've ever seen in wrestling cards over
Coming.
the next couple of years. I think that commons, I think that are, that's not going to change much, but like Prism True Golds and rookie cards specifically of people and and the superfractors, and like we are going to see something that we haven't seen, that I haven't seen. We've seen a few of them with like the Roman I sold and the Rock, but I don't think we've even scratched the surface when it comes to high value
Well,
wrestling.
I've been preaching that for a couple of years now, especially. And, Paul and I have always been talking about this, and we've had many discussions about, what's going to be, how many more six figures are we going to get? Are we going to have a seven-figure cards like that? And these people who talk about this, we're years away, or it has to be this specific type of card from this specific year and this specific grade. I completely disagree with all those aspects. I think it's going to happen. It just takes one person with deep pockets to make something become a national news type of thing, a Logan Paul type thing, or maybe whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden, even more high end, big wallet people are going to get into the hobby because it's just going up. And you look at the reports from 2023 about the market, and the market as a whole was down with the exception of one genre, wrestling.
Oh,
Wrestling was up,
interesting.
and wrestling was up 2.3%, while everything else was in the red.
And we're going to see what I noticed when I transitioned from sports to wrestling. I was like, the number one biggest difference, in my opinion, was in sports cards, you had far more flippers and people that were investing and people that were prospecting and trying to figure out how they're going to get the next big, star. In wrestling, you had overwhelming amount of collectors and people that were
Yeah.
buying these cards, and they're never going anywhere. They're going to get
And we
handed
and
down
we
to their
had
kids.
we had that type of mentality within the wrestling when Panini first got the license. That first release came out. We had those flippers coming in here trying to make something out of it, and the community just didn't obviously didn't take that, um,
No,
and 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 it went. They kind of went away. I mean, we gained a lot of new collectors who liked the community because they were treated better, I think, than other
And
sports.
they
I
like
guess
wrestling.
I don't do other sports, but I think a lot of them who went away were only in it for the quick buck. But some of them who stuck around, we picked up a lot of new collectors in the hobby now, and it just continues to keep growing.
April
yeah, and
2022, Tony. You remember that?
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
month,
oh, I remember when
yep,
cases were ten
Yeah.
thousand dollars.
yeah.
And I just got a case. I actually just broke a case of Prism 2022 Hobby last night. And they're like $3,000 or $4,000 now. And to be honest, if I, like I said, if I'm one of those people that have 100, 200, $300,000 sitting in the bank and I'm not going to touch it for a year, I would be buying up that stuff and putting it in a safe right now. Like that would be a 10 times better investment in my opinion than almost anything, and but I think it happened so fast that it kind of shook the industry. And then but I think now that it's happening gradually, it's it we're going to see massive growth in Panini products.
Yeah.
People's, I mean, I know we're kind of good, I'm getting off topic, but if I'm prospecting or talking to people that are interested, is like, okay, look at CM Punk. It's his first, only last Prism. Jade, same with Lola. So some of these people that you're not even realizing that might have potential to be valuable in 3, 4, 5 years, people are gonna be like, where's CM Punk's Prism card? It's like he only had that one.
Yeah.
So like there are absolutely ways, and I wish I could be coming into this as a diehard wrestling fan. I've became a diehard wrestling fan. I'm still learning everything, but I came into this from that business perspective, and so every angle I'm looking at is, oh, how what are we going to see in the next 2 to 3 years? And I think we're going to see crazy growth with the Netflix, with WrestleMania, with all of these wrestlers opening up packs. It's pretty exciting stuff. I'm hoping to still be a part of it. I don't want to get left behind.
Yeah,
been a serious big wave of advertising from Tops, and I got to commend Tops and Fanatics for
Fanatics.
what they're doing by supporting this because we're seeing as longtime collectors like myself and Paul, it's we're seeing things that have never been done before within the hobby itself with the commercials and getting the actual talent involved and advertisement and the way the advertising is happening now. It's just becoming more like a lot of people are like, they make wrestling cards. I didn't know they even had wrestling
It's
cards.
a
And it's
very
like,
fresh
how
approach.
have you been the last 30 years, man? But yeah, I mean, it's huge now. Like you said, it just continues to keep growing.
I'm not sure if I said this before we started recording. I just went to a card show in Portland, Oregon that had 280 this last weekend. It had 280 tables. There was not one wrestling table there. I After I left there, I was so mad at myself for not getting a table. But I went to probably 15 to 20 booths and I said, "Hey, do you have any wrestling cards?" And their response is, "No, but you're like the 15th person to ask me today." And it's like, and then I went and talked to the person that was running the show, and I was like, "How do I get a table?" I'm a wrestling person, I have wrestling cards, and they said, "Oh, you have to, you don't have a table this year, so you're gonna have to get in line on Wednesday, and they sell out really quick. It might be tough." And then somebody overheard it, and they said, "You do wrestling?" And they literally booked me a table for their July show because they were like, "We need somebody that's gonna do wrestling," and I'm just like, I'm blown away because I'm kind of tunnel vision through Whatnot and through just that avenue, that there are so many people out there that aren't on Whatnot, aren't on Facebook, aren't on Instagram, that are looking for these things because they're so excited about what wrestling is doing, WWE is doing.
Well, maybe it's time for a little old school, hitting the streets again with all this technology. We kind of forget to go out, smell the fresh air and go out to a card show or go out to
Yeah.
a flea market and
I was blown
be
away.
surprised what you find.
I was blown away by the card show, and it was a tiny one. I'm excited to hopefully go to nationals and spend some time with you
We've
guys.
seen the growth at the National, even here at the Sport Expo, like half a dozen years ago, there was nothing. Now there's like a dozen guys selling wrestling, So we've seen it from all angles. And now with the new Tops Chrome and the Fanatics approach to doing things, yeah, it's going to stay on a high. And I'm pretty sure guys like you, Breaker, are going to be sort of on the forefront of it. Tony and I will be talking about it, commenting up and down. But yeah, there's some real exciting times coming ahead. Now, guys, we could talk about this all night. Tony, anything else before we sign off?
No, no, it's good, man. It's nice to finally meet you. And I think what you're doing is amazing, and it just helps grow the community even more. I know the community, as you said in the beginning, accepted juice like that, but I think there's a lot more people now coming out that it's the other way around now. I think so. You kind of put a big stamp of like, hey, here's wrestling cards and help the community grow, I think. And that's just, more guys like you getting out there doing what you guys do just helps the hobby as a whole. And I think the greater good comes out of that. We have dissension sometimes based on manufacturers and what we like and what we don't like that. And that's going to be no matter what we do in life. But I think the general overall, we have people here that are doing some great things that really just keep expanding our wonderful community to be even bigger and better.
Yeah, well said. Congratulations on leading the way on that, because that's
Thank,
a very big
Thank
aspect of,
you.
of,
I
of the hobby.
I think the last thing I'll say is I think one complaint people had is all these other big breakers that break sports. Once they have a wrestling product, they come into the wrestling community and then they break it and then they leave.
And then they're gone.
And I think that that is something that the wrestling community was so used to, and it was just like, you're coming in, you're taking advantage of us when the money's good, and then you're leaving. And I think maybe one reason why I was accepted is I came in, I found opportunities to make money for me and my family, which that's what every person has to do. But then during the times when I wasn't making money, I stuck it
Stuck
out,
around.
and
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm gonna spend the next 30 days not making money and giving you guys what you need because I want to show you that I appreciate what you guys did for me this first week of this release. And then doing that over and over again, you kind of build that those relationships with people, and then they trust you more, or they want to give back more, or they want to help you more because I can't be successful without the wrestling community. I mean, the I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to support my family if I didn't have the wrestling community. So
You could tell those flippers, man, if you can't accept me at my T-bar, you don't deserve me at my Roman.
That's it.
yeah, 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 exactly. Good point.
Very good, guys. Thanks very much. Appreciate you spending time with us. Tony, nice seeing you. We'll be back. We have few of these in store, right, Tony, that we've been talking to
We got
people.
a couple great things coming up, man. I'm excited
You
about
know,
them.
we like to do this. We like to talk to guys like you that are sort of moving the needle. And again, thank you and all the best. I mean, you know, you're prescient enough to understand that you can't rest on your laurels and that things are going to change, so you have to pivot. Same with you, Tony. I mean, I've watched your store over the last few years, and you're doing something else all the time, and that's what it is. And I've had experience
You
in the
got to
last years.
evolve. You have to
Yeah.
evolve.
Yeah, you have to evolve. So with that, thanks again. Thanks everybody for watching. Paul and Ann, Tony Vela from Wrestling Card Price Guide and Wrestling Trading Cards, Breaker Mayfield. Thanks again, guys.
Take care. Thank you so much.